Live from the Western Mass News Studios in Springfield, this is Better Western Mass.
On a Monday. Not a lot of snow in this forecast for you, everybody, but we are going to be dealing with some ice and freezing rain tonight. Sounds like just an absolute mess for the morning commute. So welcome to this edition of Better Western Mass. Hope you're doing well. I'm Taylor Jacobs. Before we get to all the fun stuff, we got to talk the weather. So let's send it into the party pooper. First morning meetup is Dan Brown. And Dan, what do you got?
I guess so, right? If you're looking for springtime weather, I'm certainly the party pooper. There's no doubt about that. But you know what? It's kind of a 1-2 punch with this storm system. We have a weak thing going through today. Just watch out for a few slippery spots here and there. But we have this system coming in for tonight. It's primarily going to be sleet and freezing rain overnight tonight. That's problematic in itself. I think it winds down by tomorrow afternoon. Cold high pressure works in for Wednesday, but then here we go again. Our next storm system comes at us on Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. It'll most likely start as snow, and then depending on the exact track of the storm, will determine whether or not we go over to sleet, freezing rain, or how all that plays out. But again, that would be probably Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, and on and into Friday morning. Now, in terms of our storm system, for this afternoon, it's just a few snow showers here and there, a few sleet pellets. It might lead to a few slippery spots, but the heaviest precipitation comes in tonight. So let's start with midnight tonight, where I think we're dealing with sleet in Springfield, snow maybe north and west, but by 3 a.m., it's pretty much freezing rain everywhere. So 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., temperatures will be right around that freezing mark in Springfield. I think between 6 a.m. and 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Springfield in the lower valley goes over to plain rain, but of course there'll be icy spots, untreated surfaces. Meanwhile, it continues to deal with freezing rain in the hill towns, because the hill towns are probably going to average about 3 or 4 degrees colder than the valley. So that's what will be most problematic. Icy in the valley, then the ice accretion will increase the further up you go in elevation. You get up over about 1,000 feet. That's where we're most concerned about power outages, due to the fact that that freezing rain can glom on to wires and trees, just like this here, right? So unlikely in Springfield. The hill towns, you could have some isolated power outages, and then the hill towns, you get up over about 1,000 feet, you get into Worthington, Blandford, places like Peru. That's where you could have more power outages, better threat or risk anyway. Everybody's going to be icy. I think after about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, conditions will improve in greater Springfield. Not till the afternoon, though, across the hill towns. Temperatures should come up well up into the 30s tomorrow afternoon in the valley, but I think the hill towns are going to stay icy pretty much all day long. Here comes that cold air for Wednesday, but at least the sun is back. That cold air will set the stage for our next storm system on Thursday, which will likely come in as snow, and then whether or not we go over to a mix or a changeover, we'll have to wait and see. But that next storm looks like it'll be kind of a moderate-sized storm as well, just like the one that's coming in for tonight. Friday, we may actually turn mild briefly before cold air streams in here for Saturday and Sunday. Right now, the weekend looks dry. Wouldn't you know, perhaps more storminess on Monday. So busy times ahead for sure. And of course, Jana's going to be in later on with an important update starting at 4 o'clock. All right, that's your forecast. Everybody have a great afternoon. Taylor, to you.
All right, thank you, Dan. Happy President's Day. And Western Mass News has got you covered on this incoming winter blast and its impact on our area. Special live team coverage begins tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m. Yeah, a.m. So hope you can tune in. All right, let's shift gears here, talk about the coronavirus, and throw some questions to our experts out there. This afternoon, we turn to Dr. Erica Hamilton, a microbiologist from UMass Amherst. Hey there, Dr. Hamilton. Welcome back to our airwaves. So the first question to throw you away from our viewers goes like this. I would like to know when postal workers, in particular letter carriers, will be eligible to receive the COVID vaccine in Massachusetts. It is not spelled out in the mass.gov website. This is from Christina.
So it's not clear where they fall on the mass.gov website. Now, as everyone knows, we're currently still in step 1 of phase 2. So this is people over the age of 75. Postal workers are going to be in phase 2, and they're at the beginning of what would be considered phase 3. This is going to be a very large group of people, and postal workers will be in with folks who do daycare for young children, early educators, K through 12 teachers, grocery, utility, restaurant workers, people who work in transit, and people who work in agriculture and restaurants, things like that. So postal workers fall into the category of utility or maybe even transit. And I know it's not really clear on the website, but they will be coming up hopefully sometime in the next month or next few weeks.
All right, well, hopefully that clears things up there for Christina. Seems to for me, at least what we know. So how about this one from another viewer? I'm 73 with many medical conditions. Why are prisoners and caregivers getting moved up in priority and making it longer before I'm eligible? This is from Dave.
So prisoners haven't actually been moved up anytime recently. They are considered to be living in congregate living, and this is anything from a nursing home, halfway house, jails, prisons, whatever. We have large groups of people living in small spaces. These folks were vaccinated in phase 1 of the vaccine plan. COVID travels very, very quickly in crowded living conditions, so you can end up with a large number of ill residents, and then the caregivers or the workers who work in these places have a really high chance of becoming ill too. So they were vaccinated in phase 1. However, caregivers have been moved up. So now if you have someone 75 or older who has signed up for a vaccine, they can bring their caregiver with them. Now, this is not home health aides. They were included in phase 1. But this is someone like a relative or friend who is going in and helping out someone who needs it on a regular basis. And this is to make sure that the caregiver isn't going to bring COVID to the person they're trying to help.
All right, and as we wrap up here, we got about a minute left. Is it absolutely mandatory that a person return to the site of his first vaccination site for a follow-up? And if the answer is the affirmative, can you explain why? This is from George.
So yes, this is true, and it's going to be true for most vaccination sites. You can't switch between the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. They are different vaccines. They have different dosages. And because of this, you have to get them at very specific the second shot at a specific interval after the first one, and it's not the same for Pfizer versus Moderna. So in order to make sure that people don't get the wrong second vaccine, most vaccination sites won't accept you unless you've had the primary one at that site. Now, this is true for something like the Eastfield Mall, where they're doing large numbers of people through. It may be a little bit different. For example, if you get it at the CVS in Greenfield, where you get your first dose, can you then get your second dose at another CVS at another location, because they'll be using probably the same vaccine? That is a question you'd have to ask when you go to that facility for your first shot. But yes, you really should be getting your first and second shot at the same place, so it's not confuse your vaccines.
A good rule of thumb there. Dr. Erica Hamilton, really do appreciate your time here on this Monday as we start off a brand new week. Take care, and we'll catch up with you here in the coming days. And Western Mass News, a reminder to you at home or your vaccine authority, if you have something you want to ask the doctors, like Dr. Erica Hamilton, you just send an email over to vax@westernmassnews.com, and you can see your question asked on air, just like with those three there. All right, coming up, everyone, on Better Western Mass, we're talking about mindfulness while eating, how taking a pause before your next bite can help you drop a few pounds. Plus, we're checking in with Dave Madsen. Yeah, there he is, getting an inside look at the Even Better Western Mass podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to Better Western Mass. And whether it's just this time of year being stuck at home because of the pandemic, one thing that hasn't been an issue for many of us is adding on a couple of extra pounds. And one of the most effective ways to combat this is to cut out the mindfulness and stress eating. So many of us are doing that at home. And as Jamie Price from My Life shows us, just slowing down and practicing the art of mindful eating can make a huge difference.
My Life recently launched a new essentials package on mindful eating that helps people become more thoughtful about the choices they make when it comes to food. We created essentials as our way of simplifying the meditation process for people, with collections of relevant activities they can do at any time and jumping in at any point. From our perspective, mindful eating is not about dieting. Rather, it's about having a healthy relationship to your body. It's really about feeling good in your body exactly as it is and being present with how and what you eat. Mindful eating is actually a really practical skill when it comes to supporting your long-term health goals. According to the health and wellness experts at University of California, Los Angeles, stressing about weight loss can actually lead to weight gain. And our long-held body image stigmas can increase cortisol, our stress hormone, which leads to a higher risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Throughout the program, we've created several different areas of focus, one of which is developing a healthy relationship with your body. And that begins by appreciating all its different parts just as they are right here, right now. So we have an exercise that asks you to spend time sending positive thoughts to different areas of your body. Another aspect of the program that's very important is learning to recognize the body's signals. When we get stressed, we tend to fall back on coping mechanisms that might feel good in the now, but aren't always helpful in the long run. So things like compulsive eating or drinking. But when we're able to recognize how our emotions are expressed in our bodies physically, we're better equipped to ride them out patiently and with courage. Another thing that's really important is to learn how to deal with cravings. We all have them, and they may be very strong, but they don't have to control us. With a little bit of patience and perspective, you can learn to watch your cravings without getting swept away. And I love this pro tip for cravings. When in doubt, walk it out. Researchers in Austria found that going for a brisk 15-minute walk can help curb cravings for sugary foods. The last thing is to really enjoy your food. Mindful eating isn't just about the way you taste your food, but it's also about how you prepare it, how you serve it, and how you savor it. Practice paying attention to every part of the culinary experience and see how much joy it awakens for you. This is about really just eating and focusing on it. We're so busy that we tend to multitask and are often on our phones working or doing something else while we're eating. But this is about slowing down and really enjoying and thinking about what you taste. It takes about 20 minutes for your body to fully register that it's full. So go slow and savor the experience. Try taking smaller bites, chewing slowly, and breathing between each bite. You'll tend to eat less, and your gut will thank you later.
There you go. Coming up on Better, everybody, we're getting a closer look at the Even Better podcast with Dave Madsen 1 year after its original air date. Well, he's a familiar face and voice now to Western Mass News viewers. Our own Dave Madsen has been bringing you one-on-one interviews on news, entertainment, and more on his podcast, Even Better Western Mass. Dave, welcome to the show. And today actually marks 1 year of the podcast, and he's joining now to kind of talk all about what was happening throughout this year, and then what we can look forward to. So, Dave, just first and foremost, glad to have you back. Great to hear you in the opens now here on Western Mass News again. And you got to tell us, most recently, I think I saw Congressman Richard Neal is who you interviewed. I mean, what was this past year like for you?
It's been strange because we got off to a start. I think it was February 17th was the first podcast we did, and that was with our weather team. And they were giving their winter weather advisory, and by then we were about halfway through winter. But the goal was to go on location, and we also began shooting them down at our MGM studios in Springfield. But with COVID, well, that changed all that, and now, as you can see behind me, we do them on Zoom from my basement. So I call it a cheap Wayne's World. Yeah, I love what you've done with the place right there. We are not
Don't
worthy.
you like that?
We are not worthy, as they say over in
Well, you should
Wayne's
see
World.
all my grandkids' toys are over in the corner over here. So it's...
Yeah, I noticed as well some barriers to keep the Legos off the feet. You know, you don't want to step on those.
I've hit them.
Oh, they hurt. They hurt. My goodness. So that's kind of where you are now. What should folks look forward to in the future with the podcast? Any big guests coming up?
Well, we've got one of the things I've tried to do is when we started out, I was doing some local radio personalities and things like that. Then when COVID hit, we kind of shifted the focus to that. And basically to give some advice to folks, how are you going to deal with this day in and day out? And we still touch on that to some point. But what I like to do is, we've featured some local celebrities, some national celebrities. Gary Puckett from Gary Puckett, the Union Gap was one of the guests. And Keith Lockhart, the conductor of the Boston Pops back in July, because all their season changed too. But, we try to focus on local people who are doing great things and also on local nonprofits too, who may need some help as we try to make our way through this whole thing with COVID-19. Hopefully we're getting there.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel we can only hope for. And I know we've had some guests here on Better Western Mass that have made their way over to you through Be Vital Wellness, for instance, the gals over there and everything they do to help people just feel better about themselves. So how about this? Somebody watching at home right now, let's say they did have a story they were interested in telling or maybe getting in touch with you to get on the podcast. How do they go about that? Just have them send me an email, dave.madsen@westernmassnews.com. Still have my email address at the station. It's like you can't, in some ways you just can't get rid of me.
You're like that guy in Office Space where they shoved down to the basement and they're like, oh, he's still here.
I'm in the basement. Yeah, exactly. It actually, it's kind of a hoot because, I'm doing some news for Western Mass News on a few radio stations. And now to do the intros to the newscast, it's kind of what I always wanted to do because I started in radio and I love radio. And at this point in time in my life, I mean, look at this face now. It's time to put it to rest.
Oh, don't beat yourself
but we have to do the podcast on YouTube too. So you do get to see it every now and then. But so it's on YouTube, Google Music, and on iTunes. So it's out there everywhere. My granddaughter said to me, she said, "Pa, who listens to your podcast?" And I said, "Well, I think a few people do." And she says, "Well, does Grandma listen to it?" And I said, "I don't think so." It kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, what is a podcast? You got to first ask.
What is a podcast? Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So YouTube, your iTunes, your Spotify's, all that. You can find Dave Madsen, a legend in this business. And you can also catch him at the start of every newscast here on Western Mass News. Now it's the voice open.
Yeah, who is that voice? I'm sure when that first came on, they said, that sounds familiar, but I'm not sure who that is.
I know my ears perked. Dave, it was great to see you, man.
Taylor, thanks. Good to see you. Get some rest.
Oh, definitely going to try to. And we'll do this again on year number 2. Hopefully before then, though.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care.
Stay well.
Will do. You got to get some rest for that 4:30 start tomorrow. Coming up on Better Western Mass, a look at some of the positive things happening in our crazy world, including a dozen skaters taking advantage of the icy weather. Plus, a preview of tonight's episode of People TV. Do not miss it. Welcome back. Let's give you some entertainment news. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on People TV.
Tonight on People, a show full of love, including these two.
I'm Deborah Roberts, and I've been married to Al for 25 years.
I'm Al Roker, and I've been married to Deborah, I guess, for 25 years. Whatever she said.
Al and Deborah are a couple filled with admiration.
I admire your optimism. Not only, are you humorous and you're fun-loving and all of that, but you have optimism, and I love that.
And devotion toward one another.
Anybody that you're with, you make better, whether it's the people you work with, our kids, me, our marriage, it's the better for it.
Oh, thank you.
They met 28 years ago at NBC. Al knew she was the one.
Well, I think, when I realized whenever I wasn't with her, I was missing her terribly. Life felt a lot better with her than without her.
He did say fairly early on, before I was convinced I was that into him, we're gonna get married.
The rest of Al and Deborah's love story is tonight on People.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Coming up on Better Western Mass, a big announcement coming from the royal couple. More on this Valentine's Day news after this. And as we send you off to break, a look at your stealing deals.
I have, interestingly enough, one of my new favorite things. This is Calming Heat by Sharper Image, and it does so much more than a regular heating pad. And at first I thought, yeah. And then I tried it and I went, oh, yeah. So here's the deal. Number one, it's a heating pad, right? If you have aches and pains, you overdid it, your back, your shoulders, your knees, right? There's nothing better than a heating pad, but most heating pads just kind of sit there. This one drapes over and it has weight. It's filled with these weighted clay beads. So the heat really absorbs and you feel the heat so much more. It makes such a difference. And I love that. But it also has, wait for it, because here's the cool part, massage. Now, I have 3 different settings for heat, 3 different settings for massage, and by the way, automatic timer turnoffs for the massage and the heat, so you're good with safety. Because of the fact that it's a great size, when you put it over your shoulder, it covers a lot of your shoulder. If you put it on your back, it covers a lot of your back. When I put it on my lap, down my legs when I'm watching TV, it covers a lot of space. So this is one of those things that can just be calming and soothing at the end of a long day, or just because it's that Zen moment when it's cold outside and you're toasty, warm, and massaged inside. It's Calming Heat by Sharper Image. I love the concept. And by the way, 20% off on localsteels.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Better Western Mass here on this Monday, and we got some good news for you. So let's start you off with this. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle, they announced on Sunday that they're expecting their second kid. A spokesperson for the couple saying that we can confirm that Archie is going to be a big brother. Now, Archie turns 2 this May. He's the first kid. Now, the happy news comes just a few months after Meghan revealed she had suffered a miscarriage last July. So congrats to them, hoping for a healthy baby on the way. All right, well, how about this? Bolivian black-capped squirrel monkeys at the Zoological Society of London Zoo were treated to their favorite mealworms for Valentine's Day. Zookeepers packed the treats inside bags decorated with hearts and made sure that there was a bag for every monkey. But that didn't stop them from wrestling over the treats. Of course not. And dozens of skaters took to the frozen surface of Amsterdam's historic Rock Canal over the weekend. A deep freeze gripping northern Europe allowed for skating on a small section of the canal for the first time since 2018. Look at them go there. Now, elsewhere across the country, people flock to frozen lakes and canals to enjoy the ice before a thaw that is forecast to begin in the coming days. Now, that's for them over there in Europe. For us, the ice is just beginning, everybody. You're going to want to see Jana Brown's forecast starting at 4 later today to stay up to date. We'll see you on TV tomorrow morning.